Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Have another 2024 rookie report for you today. We're going to talk about Mr. Drake Maye, quarterback from North Carolina, headed to the NFL draft this year. He's my QB1 of the class. I think he's the safest QB. I'm going to discuss that here. My podcast co host, Jason DiRienzo, is going to join me. And this is a snippet from our podcast, Devy to Dynasty Football. We're going to break down his stats. We're going to look at his PFF stats. We're going to look at his scouting report. What does he bring to the table? We're going to look at his draft capital and his dynasty projection and do some comps, have some fun. If you play dynasty, you play fantasy, and you're looking for a YouTube channel out there that is going to give you an early look at the 2024 draft class, I'm going to give you an early look at the 2025 draft class, 2026 draft class. You play Devy C2C, or any kind of fantasy football. I've got content on here for you. So again, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Jason, let's do our Drake Maye rookie report. We
Yeah.
did Caleb Williams already, and we did Jaden Daniels already. So let's get to Drake Maye. You guys know the routine, how we go through this. We go through career stats, his PFF passing grades, a scouting report, his draft and dynasty projections. 6'4", 220-pound true junior from North Carolina, one of the top quarterbacks, obviously headed to the NFL draft. Let's go through some career statistics. Over 800 passes, 7,500 yards, 59 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, completion percentage 65, which is about where most of these players are headed to the draft. Yards per average 8.6, TD ratio 4.2. He's got some rushing ability. I'm going to talk about that when we get to his scouting report. Over 1,400 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns, and only had 8 fumbles through 3 seasons, where we did Caleb Williams and he had, I don't know, 32 or something like
30
that.
something.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of an eye-popping number, but nonetheless, so Drake Maye, that's what it is. His PFA passing grades here, his PFF passing grades rather, passing grades all good across the board. 89 in the high percentile. No pressure grade, really good. The pressure grade is in the 59s, but it's in the higher percentile. Everyone seems to obviously take a step back when the grades come for the pressure. But I really like his big time throw percentage, 7.5, and it was ranked, it looks like 10th here overall in college football. So statistically, especially when he had Josh Downs, he had a phenomenal season 2 years ago. But this year, the big question was, what was his production going to be losing Josh Downs? He had Devontae Walker kind of join in midseason, certainly still had a productive season. So exciting prospect from a scouting report standpoint. I think he brings that prototypical size that you love in a quarterback, 6'4",
Mhm.
220, right? So he got some solid build to him. But I think I want to point out most importantly is that he's not viewed as because of that size, much of a dual threat quarterback. But I'll tell you what, I think I watched enough of him, man, where I like his athleticism. I think he's underrated from an athleticism standpoint. I think he's a really, really good athlete. I've seen him scramble with the ball in his hands. I've seen him extend plays. I think he's got good pocket awareness. From the scouting standpoint, what did you see? What are your points that you like when you watch him?
I completely agree with the athleticism being undervalued. I saw him make some big runs, especially one along the perimeter. I can't remember what game it was, but he was able to kind of navigate his way around some pursuing angles of defenders and make the most out of the yards with his legs. And that's a big time dynamic to a quarterback, especially a guy who's 6'4" and 220 pounds. He's got great arm talent.
Does.
I think he can definitely get the ball down the field with ease. I think that big stature definitely helps as well. But the touch, the poise, and the accuracy on the deep ball is a bit inconsistent. But man, he can drop the ball into some beautiful, beautiful angles on when his receivers like Tez Walker when he's on a vertical route. I mean, when he just drops into the breadbasket, it's gorgeous. But there are times where I just came away wanting a little bit more, and I'll get into that part. But the arm talent, the arm strength, his athleticism, and I also just want to talk like the arm angles. Nobody really talks about that. We hear that with Caleb Williams, but there
Mhm.
were some throws that just really impressed me. I was like, how did you even pull that off? So I think there's untapped potential within the arm talent of Drake May, and a quarterback could really uncork that. Or I'm sorry, a coach.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got the big arm. He can make the throws all across the field, across the hashes. So I saw what you meant about the inconsistency of accuracy, vertical, on deep passes and stuff. But I mean, I think every quarterback goes through through
Oh,
that to a certain degree.
yeah.
So, um, I think from a scouting standpoint that the one thing that when watching his film, I think he's got good pocket awareness. Um, I think sometimes he can take too many sacks. I think he tries to extend plays within the pocket and sometimes doesn't move out of the pocket a lot
Mhm.
enough for me, where he tries to, and I see him making quick decisions and bad throws, right? Where I think if he were to be able to expend the plays getting out of the pocket a little bit more, he might not have such inconsistency. But you saw some like ugly plays too, where he just is under pressure and tosses the ball like where he shouldn't even be throwing the ball at all. But I think every quarterback kind of goes through that. But I mean, he's one of the best quarterback prospects, and I'm no quarterback guru, but just watching it, I think if we're going to try and see if there's a blemish on his scouting report, his pocket presence. He just takes sometimes too many sacks. I'd like to see him just get out of the
Mm.
pocket so much. He was sacked a lot and took a beating on some games that was just, again, he stands in there too long, which you admire to a certain degree because he's going through his progressions. But I think sometimes he needs to have a little bit better pocket awareness and presence in there to know when to maneuver, know when to stay in place, and try and continue to throw the ball downfield.
I think the mechanical breakdown when he's under pressure is part of the
Yeah.
reason why I'm a little bit skeptic as far as how it's gonna be in his first year. Honestly, I thought the same thing about CJ Stroud, so I need to kind of put pause on that for a second. But based on the film that we watched, when he goes to set his base and throw the ball under pressure, you could definitely see that his pointer foot, the foot that would normally aim toward the receiver, is not aiming toward the receiver. I had to push pause a couple times. So there's definitely a mechanical breakdown when he's under pressure. And I want to see him just kind of navigate the pocket a little bit better. You brought that up, and I thought that was a great
Mhm.
point, especially when he does his hitch. He can go into 2, 3 hitches before he even throws the ball, and he's sometimes just holding it too long trying to make a play. And I'm also wondering if he's always just been bigger than everybody else and he thinks he could just shred a sack, and I think he's finding out the hard way that's not the case. So he's gonna really have to make that pocket his best friend and understand how to navigate it a little bit better.
Yeah, and all these players are still, have room for growth, right? So they're going to
Sure.
get that good
Yep.
NFL coaching and stuff. So again, we're just trying to point out the positives, the negatives of the scouting report. But nonetheless, he is one of the top prospects. He's my QB1 in this class currently right now. We'll get to that in a minute. So let's talk about his draft and dynasty projections. I mean, he's going to be a top three selection. Do you see him getting out of the top three?
I don't see him get it. It's with all these QB needy teams, I can't see it
Yeah,
happening.
all these
No
QB
way.
needy teams. We're talking about like half the NFL teams need
Oh,
quarterbacks. It
it's
seems like
crazy.
so. Yeah. So super. I mean, as far as our super flex rookie drafts, he's going to be the 101 to 103. I mean, again, I don't care where he's drafted. I mean, the teams at the top, we have New England. I don't know. Nobody wants to see him go to New England, but new coach, new system, new
Uh,
excitement there in New England. So you got Washington up top. You got, possibly the Bears if they move on from Fields, and, Atlanta, some other QB needy teams. But regardless of his landing spot, I think he's going to be, it's a super flex league. If it's a one QB league, he's probably going to be a, later round one pick, but super flex, what most people
sure.
play, I see him being at the top of the draft.
Yeah, I do too. I think it would be maybe pick your flavor if someone wanted to take Jaden Daniels over him, but that would be the only reason I think he'd fall out of the top 3.
Yeah, I would agree. So let's talk about player comps. From his play style, he loves to go vertical with the ball, right? He's that vertical
Mhm.
deep passer. I think he really likes to throw deep, and he reminds me of Justin Herbert a little bit. Just the ability to throw the ball. He got the bigger size quarterback. I don't know. I just watch him play. I'm not really great with player comps, but a guy that likes to throw the ball down the field a lot. I feel like Herbert's one of those players. He's my comp.
Yeah, I like that. I can absolutely see Herbert, and I think that's the one that's most common, and it makes total sense. I saw a little bit of Carson Wentz when he was in his prime on the Eagles, and I'm just hoping he doesn't have the same path as Carson Wentz because Wentz did have that pocket issue that just seemed to kind of shadow him and have him fall off the map a little bit. I'm hoping that's not the case, but Carson Wentz in his prime is kind of what I could see from Drake May, with that particular type of upside.
Yeah, good old Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
As an Eagles fan, he went from being really good to really bad. So let's hope that's not the long term comp for
Let's
Drake
hope that's
May.
not the long term. Right.
So I currently have Drake May as my number one quarterback. All right. I feel like I like quarterbacks who are bigger. I know everyone's excited about the Jaden Daniels running around and Caleb Williams and his magical touch throwing the ball all over off platform, but I think Drake May could be possibly be one of the more safer quarterbacks. I'd like the size. I think he stays in the pocket, like we talked about, maybe too much. But I don't know. I've got him number one in my ranks right now, and it's mid-January. Where do you have him in your ranks?
I got him number 2, right behind Caleb Williams.
Williams.
So,
Okay.
pretty status quo with every other industry ranking you'll
Yeah.
probably see.
That's very true. So Drake May is going to be an exciting prospect. Let's hope he gets a good landing spot and gets a good coaching staff, good offensive line, a running
Yes.
game, so he can be a dynasty asset for us. All right. So there is our Drake May rookie report.